Florida State has announced that they are going to be keeping Mike Norvell for the 2026 season. Joe, there's been massive amounts of speculation over and over again. It seems like every week. This season has not gone great. Florida State is holding on to Mike Norvell. What is your thoughts?
Well, I got one stipulation I want to bring up with this in a second, but we talked about this a while ago back when they released that long-winded statement in October, and I have since changed my perspective, and I realize for a fan base that really badly wants to win, keeping Mike Norvell is absolutely a slap in the face. They have gotten worse since that October segment that we did, and we argued with one another about if it's the right decision or not. My sense on this, and it goes in line with what my thought process was in October, which is why spend the $58 million when you could put that money towards bolstering your NIL and trying to make sure that you have a really good roster as his buyout starts to go down. I do wonder if that we don't see some sort of a contract renegotiation for him where he has to put money back into the NIL fund again. And frankly, he should offer to even do that for the fact that they're letting him come back. The one layer to this, Blake, I don't think it's going to happen based on how Florida played against Tennessee because they look like they're dead. They look like they have nothing left. They look like they're barely trying. They're just trying to finish the season and get to winter break. If Florida beats Florida State, does this change? If Florida beats Florida State, do they fire him? You can't go 5-7 with a loss to Florida.
You mean to tell me that you came out with a statement saying that you're going to make a decision at the end of the year. Then you came out with a statement saying that you're going to keep him for 2026 only for 7 days later than to fire him?
But this is I don't think that they would do it. But it's a reality that we got to talk about.
You shouldn't have said a damn word.
This is my point. This is my point.
And
how ridiculous they look.
Well, this is what I think Florida State was trying to do. All right, it's not great right now, but let's see if we can get some wins in the back half of this schedule here that's not that great. And they got their teeth kicked in.
Yeah.
And so they thought, well, man, even if we, go 4-2 in the back half of the season, well, it's not that bad. It's not great, but it's not that bad. And they kept losing. They were betting on that they were going to win, and they kept losing. Joe, Friday night was god awful. I don't even know what to say. You got to rip the Band-Aid off. Mm-hmm. Because if you give money for next year's schedule, it's just going to be more money wasted when you fire Mike Norvell. When you start doing the money like this, look at what Florida did. Look at what LSU did. Look at what Penn State did. Now, James Franklin was actually, this isn't the time or place, but sidebar. James Franklin went up thousands of notches for me this week, agreeing to a $9 million buyout and wanting to coach and not worrying about the money. James Franklin, I will always be now a fan of James Franklin. You showed me your character. Florida State, your program's in the dumpster. Now, Joe, I'm going to tell you this. And for the last 3 weeks, I've been talking with our friends over at College Football Addiction. Don't act like Mike Alford, their AD, hasn't been talking to coaches behind Mike Norvell's back. Because they've been talking to coaches behind Mike Norvell's back, whether they want to admit it or not. I don't think they're letting Mike Alford, the sitting AD, make this move. It's above his pay grade. They're not letting him make it. And for what? To have another dead season? To have another dead season, do you not have the money? Is that a problem? Again, I will bring this up. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of this, but Joe, remember when Florida State threatened to leave the ACC? Remember when they said that they were going to pay the $100 million? Mm-hmm. Well, now your program's in the shitter, and now what are you doing? All of a sudden, you don't have the money. Why? You keep balking at every situation. You're not a serious run program right now. I don't think Mike Norvell's a bad head coach. I don't. But he had one good season. He had on a lot of portal players, and you don't want to rebuild with him. What did you think this season was going to be after you went 2-10? Joe, we talked about it in the preseason. There may be a 6-6, 7-5 football team. Here we stand. Look, man, they should have pulled the plug. Quite honestly, to Florida State fans, the things that I've heard I'm not firing Mike Alford either because it's above his pay grade in all of this. His bosses are telling him that he can't do it. So, Joe, I mean, you had a chance to get James Franklin. James Franklin, when the news came out with Pete Thamel on College Game Day last weekend, the pressure was put on you because that's where he wanted to be. And you still balked at it. You didn't do anything. Joe, they're not serious about winning. They're just not. They keep coming out with these idle threats. Stop making these idle threats and make the move what's the best for your program. Because what, Joe, no one's going to give them money. Name a booster that's going to give Mike Norvell money now.
It's a waste of money. You're throwing money at him to not do anything.
You know what it is? So then if you do, okay, then you risk the problem of him staying and winning a couple of games, and then you could use that money to fire him and his staff. It's another dead season. So if you're a Florida State fan, what do you have to look forward to? God, that's the same reason why. You want to know why Penn State and LSU fired their head coaches? Because they were like, guys, it's inevitable. Yeah, we're in a bad spot, but we can't let this continue. This can't continue here. We got to move on.
One of the things that I overlooked and why I kind of admittedly regret my initial take on this that I just completely misjudged. You lose the fan base, you lose those that are financially committed to supporting the football program by keeping Mike Norvell around. Credit to Clay Fink, younger guy who covers Florida State. He tweeted this, and I thought that it was spot on. He said, Florida State administration just told the whole world they are not serious about football. With everything that's going on, you just mentioned here that they had this whole move that they tried to flex their muscles and say that we're getting out of the ACC. We're better than this. We need to go move on to bigger and better things. Trying to act like you're going to be one of the premier brands in the sport. Meanwhile, you're keeping a losing coach who has regressed, who has taken multiple steps backward and does not have the foundation on his roster that we can look ahead to go, okay, well, at least they got these young core guys that are going to help it. This isn't a situation like Florida last year where they had DJ Lagway, and you looked at DJ Lagway, it's like, well, they were kind of rough this year, but man, if DJ Lagway hits next season, everything is going to really start to come together. Who's the young, true, big-time playmaker? Usman Chroma's a great player, and I think that there's a couple of other really good youngsters that started to contribute and play and step into the mix, and I think those guys will be important for next year, but who's the next great quarterback? Who's the next great guy that is going to take you over the top?
They got to go in the portal.
Great, here we go again.
We talked about last year about when you don't recruit from the high school ranks and build a foundation, you're going to crumble. Now, Florida State fans, Joe brought up Florida here. Joe, Florida, now that we're in hindsight, Florida completely screwed up. Because think about it. If Florida would have fired Billy Napier last year, then they more than likely, remember what we were talking about? It was about they're going to go get Lane Kiffin. Now you might miss on him. So what's the egg on the face of Scott Strickland going to be if that man says, I'm staying at Ole Miss or I'm going to LSU? So when you don't fire your head coach and you looking, Alex Golish might be gone, John Summerall might be gone, Lane Kiffin might be gone, James Franklin might be gone, then now who do you go get? You got to go now back to the G5 ranks. Because when you have a massive coaching carousel and now these guys got massive buyouts, they're not going to uproot their family yet again. You make fun of Florida for what's going on right now when you're in the same exact spot. You got to make the move. Joe, people look at Florida. I talked to an assistant AD this weekend. I'm sure you know the school. Mm-hmm. And I was like, we were just talking about the whole thing. You know, we're sitting there, we're talking before a game, and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, dude, brother, you paid Brian Kelly $53 million to walk away. All right. And he just sits there and he tells me, he goes, Blake, look what Florida did. Now they're in a dogfight for Lane Kiffin. With us, with staying at Ole Miss, what would have happened if they fired Billy Napier last year after Texas A&M? Now you're in a spot, if you're Florida State, you might be in the same spot. Because let's just hypothetically say this. Are you a better job than Auburn right now? Because it seems like a lot of people don't want to go to Auburn. Are you a better job than Arkansas? I mean, could you have a debate with Penn State? I mean, Joe, I got to be real with you. It gets to a place in time where the inaction and the scare to have the inaction, now what? Now what? And you're going to find yourself back here. Joe, we're going to be talking about this a year from now. A year now, me and you are going to have this conversation. And you know what else you can do? What if Lincoln Riley wants to leave USC? What if he wants to get back down to the South? That's the biggest unkept rumored secret. What if you can't get him now? So it just gets to a point where Florida State has completely mismanaged this entire thing. From the time that they said they wanted to leave the ACC until today, I feel like from a sporting aspect, they've been completely mismanaged.
I got two thoughts that kind of comes off of that. One, I'd be really curious to go back and like really dig into situations like the Norvell Napier ones where you have a coach that's more than 3 years into his time with a program and there's clear signs of it not working and you decide to give a coach one more year. I'd love to know if there's even success stories that have come from that, because frankly, I don't think that there are. I can't think of a time that's worked. It almost never turns around. We're not talking about Nick Saban started with a bad record at Alabama. No. That's first season. I'm talking about somebody who's been around for 4 years, and there's been steps backward, and there has not been consistency. When has there been an instance where a school has doubled down and said, we're going to give them one more year and see what happens? Most of the time, I feel like they end up getting fired. Here's the other thing, though, Blake. I hope that this is their approach and it has nothing to do with financials. And this is speculation, and I would hope Florida State. I'm offering you this guy's Florida State as an excuse. Feel free to use this. This is a coaching carousel where there are a lot of big brands currently open. There are not a lot of premier candidates. I would hope that the administration's argument would be, and they probably wouldn't be public with this, we don't want to get in a race that we don't think that we're going to necessarily be able to win. They know that they're not going to be able to get the one guy that everybody wants in Lane Kiffin. James Franklin's off the board, and the rest of the options are good options, not great options, though. That's mismanagement on them on James Franklin. Right. But, yeah, separate from Franklin, though, which would have been a really good option for them. Mm-hmm. I would think that would be the one good excuse that they don't want to jump into a coaching cycle and then be forced to make a hire that they're not in love with. Well, you know, if you would have done this last year, what if they would have hired Dion? I mean, could you imagine James Franklin recruiting in South Florida? As look at all the players that left. So now they're at 18 players that have flipped or left Penn State. Yeah. He's left. I'm with you there. Look, I mean, you can't have inaction. You can't be scared. No. You can't be scared because you don't, Joe, we don't know. You and I don't know who's on the table. What if Dabo Swinney is on the table? Shit, Arkansas, I mean, it came out from Brandon Marcello that today that Arkansas's interviewed 22 candidates and that some of the early rumors of these massive P4 coaches, and you kept clowning about this, Joe, it was true. Like I tried to tell you it was a viable, it was something that Arkansas would do. I hope it comes to fruition, man. I'm gonna be a wizard if that comes to fruition. It's not going to, because you know why? Arkansas. Well, Arkansas, I heard, also talked to Franklin, and they didn't want to give him more money for his staff or NIL. So, I mean, here's the real truth. Somebody's not going to get Drinkwitz. Meaning, Drink's not going to get one of the big 3 jobs, hypothetically speaking. You could have gotten Drink. Again, what is Lincoln Riley going to do? He's either going to sign an extension or he's going to leave. So now what? Again, we can stay on this all day, but Florida State, you got mismanaged, or you mismanaged your whole situation. Yeah. All right, let's move to football here.